Now, if you'd please give a big round of applause to our two Tom Servos, Mr. J. Elvis Weinstein and Mr. Kevin Murphy. So we're going to start this off now with a little bit of background history on Tom Servo. So this has been covered some other places, but we're going to do it all in a consolidated fashion within this panel. So the earliest remembrances of Tom Servo was not of Tom Servo. It was a completely different robot when it was first presented.
It wasn't a completely different robot. It was Beeper. It was a similar body with a crappier head. It was I don't know what the actual little eye face thing was, but then there was a plastic fish bowl over the whole thing, and it was kind of badly taped together. And he was named Beeper.
And that also affected his voice, did it not?
Yeah, it rendered his voice meaningless and pointless in any comedic sense.
I bet you thought it was a conspiracy that nobody actually wanted you to talk when you were on the screen. That's what it was.
Yeah, well, I can't blame him really, but but yeah, no, it was one of those things. It became like that sort of bad R2D2 C3PO thing where anytime Beeper said something, Crow had to translate it to Joel, so it makes it a little cumbersome.
Now, how long? So when you first chose, well, I mean, Trace grabbed Crow, so you really had Beeper left.
Right, exactly.
So by default, you got Beeper.
I got Beeper, and I was Gypsy initially too.
And
so.
Gypsy. So you got to talk as Gypsy.
Yeah, again, it wasn't. Gypsy was a.
And this is during the we should say the KTMA days.
Correct.
The pre-cable days of the show.
Right.
So when you're sitting there with a character for I'm not sure how many episodes, just doing beeps, at what point was it determined that perhaps it should transition to an actual voice?
I think Beeper was just there for the pilot presentation, wasn't he?
Anybody? I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Either that
We
or
have a
just a
nod.
couple
We have
of
a
shows
nod
maybe,
from our
yeah.
cohorts that yes, that's the case.
Do you recall if it's a proposal you made saying, I'd really like to talk?
I think it was pretty mutual among all of us, but I'm sure I was heading up the cause. So it became Servo, which had a very sort of nasally kind of "I'm Tom Servo" kind of voice, and that was annoying. So we did that for like 3 episodes, and then I was like, it's really hard to give any inflection with this voice. I want to change it, and they was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And I started sort of riffing on different voices, and that's when the Tom Servo Mighty voice came out. And I remember telling it, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. But I remember, telling it to Joel, and Joel, just the fact that I had added Tom to his name amused Joel so much, so he became Tom Servo after that.
And what would you say then was also the difficulty? Now, had either of you had any puppeteering experience prior to actually taking up the puppet?
Not beyond like nursery school, really, no.
I owned a ventriloquist dummy. I was really bad at it, but I had one.
You would just bust into kids' birthday parties uninvited.
Was it a licensed one or one you named yourself?
No, it was a Dennis, Danny O'Day, as a matter of fact. And I immediately took his head off and put a pumpkin on there for Halloween. It was kind of fun. I mangled him almost immediately.
A Dano-lantern.
Exactly.
So when you first picked up Beeper, then Servo, what were the difficulties in that thing?
Well, I mean, part of the difficulty is that it has no face, really. So there's no, you can only sort of give expressions with how the body's leaning or shaking, or a little head tilt. And initially, it was a two-handed job because there was a string to operate the mouth and then a head stick. And eventually, we got to a trigger while I was still there. So you could at least hold Servo with one hand and make him do stuff, which was certainly better when we were riffing movies. That's the big problem is that, as you can see, he has no real face other than the gumball mouth. And so any expression you wanted to give him had to sort of come through the voice more than the puppet expressing it.
Did you find the same thing to be true?
Yeah, it was weird. He's sort of a tabula rasa there, and he didn't have much articulation beyond. Well, there was a season or two when his arms there, from the the flashlight shade shoulders down, are from a guy named Seymour Buns, who you'd press this little bulb and he'd pull his pants down. You ever see that toy? And so he still had the little air bladders in there. So for a while, we tried putting those in there, and so you could squeeze it, and his arms would shake just on their own, sort of spastically. And it got a little distracting, I think, because Joel would be saying a line, and I'd start squeezing the things, and he'd end up looking at the arms, and he'd have to break a take. So it didn't work very well. But the face it's just this. He's sort of a sphinx unless you add some animation to it. And then I think that people somehow add their own idea of what sort of expression is on there. Because you look at the scripts, and one time it would say, Servo has a wry smile on his face. How the hell are you supposed to do that with a puppet like him with a clear head?
That's when the arms come in.
That's right.
So at any point did you envy Trace and Bill with Crow?
I envied Trace's puppeteering skills mostly. Trace, like just his learning curve on Crow was just amazing, and and really he was so good at making Crow into a fully fledged character, both with his voice and his puppeteering, and he was just really good at it.
And Trace made Crow into a high wire act too, because Crow had a lot of things going on, and there was one time I remember you tried to articulate his arms as well as moving his eyes in 3 different directions, and that was a bit of fresh hell. But Trace would just get so much out of that, and just having those eyes be able to move was, I think,
Right.
one of the keys to Crow is that he can have a wry smile.
Never thought of begging for eyes.
No.
No, they just bounce around in there pretty much. That would just scare children.
So the writing process from the beginning for the bots, what was that like during the KTMA days? Because the host segments were sort of a different beast during that period.
Well, I think writing process is a generous word for what we did at KTMA. The writing process took place at like 8 o'clock in the morning in Jim Mallon's office till about 8:45 maybe, where we'd write all of the host segments, and then we'd go straight into the studio and shoot those through the morning. And that was pretty much the end of the script for the show. We'd do the Mad Scientist segments, then go to lunch, and then come back and do all the movie riffing, which at that point was improv. And they would, in the control room, they would be online editing the show as we shot it. So by the end of the day, the show was literally in the can as soon as we wrapped, and we got the hell out of there. So
Which obviously then evolved into the first season.
it did evolve into the first season. Once we were actually getting paid to do it and it was a job, we decided, well, maybe we should put forth some effort. And so we actually started writing it, and it became more of like traditional TV show where with a writing room and a script.
So how did you visualize the character to begin with? When you got a voice, finally, that you were comfortable with, what did you feel was the personality?
I think initially when it became Tom Servo, it was really this sort of the puppet was half the size of its ego. It was all he had an incredibly overblown sense of himself and his sexiness, and I sort of pictured him as a sort of a creepy DJ, and so it was always just him trying to be bigger than he really was in whatever way that meant.
And Kevin, you elevated all of that.
Well, I don't know. I picked this thing up and it was fully formed already. We had already learned how to write for this guy. So, and it was wonderful. I mean, I just walked into this great little character.
And the ego got bigger. And
well,
the voice
mine did. I don't know about Tom's, but I don't know. I tried to lend myself as much as I could, but you got to remember that he was a product at that point. After the character had really been formed, he was a product of the writers in the room, and so it wasn't just me doing this. It's if Tom's personality developed from there, it's largely in part to the fact that we had this terrific writing staff, very funny people, who kept throwing great lines for this guy and great scenes for this guy to get into, and And I think what evolved in him, if you will, if the puppet character evolves, along with that puffed up chick magnet thing he had going on, he got this vulnerability where he'd start weeping at the drop of a hat. If there was one little crack in the facade, he'd just break down and start to blubber and cry.
Like most chick magnets do.
Indeed, yes.
Because frankly, he's a terrible drinker.
I think that's it. 1 Miller Lite and the guy's in the bag, as a matter of fact. I was looking through, I found a bunch of this old stuff some of it from the very first season, and I found this production note I thought was very funny. It was from Liz Kruger. You guys remember Liz Kruger? And Julian Goldberg, who and Gail Berman, who got copied on this. Folks, per our conversation today, this is February 5th, 1990, so I think this would still be the first season. It is. Per our conversation, please omit the scene from script 113 in which Joel is, quote, hammered off his scrawny ass. As I explained, both Julian and I feel this inappropriate to the show. I don't know where they got that, but it's the only production note I think we actually got in print.
I'm glad you have it memorialized.
I think that goes beyond a production note into being a little personal.
I just think the fact that they thought they knew what the show was when we had no idea at that point was, I guess, typical, really.
We might have written it into the script during the tequila drinking episode, as a matter of fact. It's possible.
Well, did you feel that in the writing process, any proprietary nature towards shifting where obviously the characters you were playing were going?
Not really, because I was able to write for Crow too, so we were all writing for everything. And once you're writing a script, you want to do the best script, and then once you've written the script as a performer, you just want to honor that the best you can. And so it was never like, I hope I never said something like Servo would never say that.
Kevin, would you concur with that?
Oh yeah, I mean, of course I tried to pad my part. Who wouldn't? No, I'm kidding. Actually, no. It was just great fun to write for these two, and there's sort of like a little clubhouse that they had going on, and then throwing Gypsy into the mix, and so writing for puppets is hysterical because you can destroy them if you want to, and they're back after the commercial break.
And considering that the parts, particularly the head, was most replaceable on Servo, he did get the most destruction over the years.
I'd say intentional destruction, perhaps. His head blew up a lot.
Yes,
that's true.
I just saw Robot Monster recently, which was the first instance of Servo's head exploding. Yeah. Kind of.
Flash paper and black powder, isn't it sweet?
Picture.
Just say those gumball machines were cheap to replace.
They were. We had them by the gross, as a matter of fact, stored up in the shelves. I think I still have a couple.
And no gumballs.
No gumballs. No. We put M&Ms in him, I remember, for once when we did the show opening, and so he's spastically shaking around, and the M&Ms are shaking out of his head and flying around. It looked like he was having a convulsion. It was really sort of sick, as a matter of fact.
A very percussive convulsion.
I think during the first season he had the hard plastic arms, but during the second season it went to the sort of Seymour.
The Seymour buns, yes. Yeah.
So was that something that you just weren't interested in continuing on, as far as having that be a different shade you could add to the puppeteering?
Well, I got a vastly improved puppet from what poor Josh had to work with for all that time. It's Trace took the thing back and just completely revamped a lot of the things, so it just worked a lot better. We added a sort of bearing set to his head so that it would move around a lot more smoothly. And we did the thing with the irons. But the more complicated the puppet got, the more I started worrying about making the puppet work, and the less I would concentrate on the script. So as far as I was concerned, the minimal amount of stuff I had to do in order to make the guy funny was what I would do, and then try to sort of pay attention to the script and trust that the script is funny.
So yeah, there's nothing, even if the arms are moving, you see their length. It's not like they're really helping out much.
It sort of swing. It was sort of like, just a little thing like that.
So how physically difficult was it to operate?
It was really physically difficult on the KTMA shows because we just weren't set up for a puppet show. It was crouching on the floor behind a table, trying to make sure that no part of your body was there. And when we riffed the movie, we were literally like the wall was here, and we would just be lying on the floor in front of the seats. And so it wasn't physically difficult, and I was a young man, but it was uncomfortable to do it.
Yeah.
And things had obviously gotten better by the time you
when we moved
elevated sets.
Yeah, when we moved to Comedy Central or Comedy Channel, I guess at that point, Trace designed the set and designed it with a puppet trench, as we called it.
And so now when you look at the work, that was very impressive. The work.
The work. The oeuvre.
The oeuvre.
The body of work.
What would you say is your favorite moment that you can recall?
Well, that's a good qualifier. Of looking back, I mean, I think one of the really sort of prototypical Servo moments that one of the few of mine I think that's lived on was him hitting on a blender sketch, because that I think really showed his puffed up and ultimately vulnerable side. So I think that's probably the most Servo-y moment that I can at least remember. I'm sure there was more, but that one, as I've said, I've seen it on YouTube, and it's lived on a little bit.
I love the line that you had in there. Nobody drinks from my girl. Joel just grabs the blender jar and starts sucking back whatever's in there. What are you doing? Nobody drinks from my girl.
Your favorite moment, Kevin?
The most fun thing I think that we had, one of the most fun things that Servo did, there's so many. I had such a great time doing the damn thing. It was just a complete wonderful time in my life. But one of my favorite things was when poor Jeff Maynard had to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It was like 12 of them in military uniforms, and he became the United Servo Academy Men's Chorus. And sang that little, I adapted that song from the Navy hymn and the Air Force hymn, sort of put them together and came up with the United Servo Academy Men's Chorus hymn. And it was really fun to do and see all these heads moving in unison and singing along while we're doing it. It was busting me up while we were doing it. Was it a
single mechanism that was operating them, or was there?
There were 2 bars. It was really hard. I mean, they had to do this elevated thing and get them all. And their set was, maybe the shooting range on the set was about the length of these 3 tables put together. So that's nothing, and he had to have all those guys out there, and then Brigadier Sir Thomas Bullhead Servo in the front. Sorry, Vice Brigadier, I think it was. And then, mood lighting on the whole thing, and then you really have to move the camera around, otherwise it's pretty damn static, and it's just nothing to do. So it was Jeff on one side, and I think Patrick at that time, and they sort of made arms so they could move the heads all in unison at the same time, but they also had to move all the jaws on all of those puppets. So there were 2 guys articulating 8 puppets at that moment, so it was pretty impressive.
So
It's like like an Easter egg on the It's a Small World tour. Kinda.
Right, yes. Yeah, exactly.
So that was something that you brought to the character when it came out. It was certainly the singing performances of Tom Servo.
Yeah. Well, Josh is a wonderful singer and sang as
as
Lawrence Earhart, as a matter of fact. And but I'm just a big old ham, So any chance I'd get to sing, I did. And as a matter of fact, I think almost right off the bat, it was the first Gamera film, I think, and Mike wrote the song to Tibby, the little pet turtle that. I know his name was Ken. Weren't all the kids in those movies named Ken? So Ken had a little turtle, and
it's a good name.
Servo fell in love and got his own turtle and named it Tibby. Automatically, during the movie segment, he acquired a pet turtle. That's the way things move on a puppet show.
Right.
And that was a delightful moment. And I think that was the first solo song that I got to do as Servo. And
how much of it can you remember?
Of Tibby? God, I can't. What is it? I remember Crow's line in that song better than I do mine. He sings Tippy, and then I yell at him, "It's Tibby, not Tippy." My fine little fella. This is my Crow impression, by the way. I love you, my fine little fella, even though you gave the whole family salmonella.
Which also showed how quickly he could get hurt again.
That's right. He started weeping on the spot, as a matter of fact.
So what are the songs that stand out in your mind, or the performances that you're most proud of the vocal side of things?
That and Servo would get these opportunities to sing solo just because Mike was a little shy about singing sometimes. Trace, God bless him, you can carry a tune, but not very far, I don't think. Is that fair? I heard you last night in the game show. But it was always fun when we'd all sing together, and still one of my favorites of that group was the song "Tubular Boobular Joy," which is another. It's an autoerotical. I can't remember. Tubular Boobular Joy. Expositular regional bachelor pouchular fun for girls and boys.
Which you can find on DVD, I'm sure.
A latissimal dorsical hung like a horsical calipoligical ball. An expositular regional bachelor pouchular. That's what it was. We got every non-dirty name into that song that we could. That was really fun. I remember Mike sitting down and said, "We have to come up with more innocuous names for people's junk so we can throw it in the song." We were brainstorming over
Wait, junk. That's it.
simple names for the junk, as a matter of fact.
Now, is there anything, that you feel that you would have wanted to do with the character that you weren't able to do with the character?
Well,
Music video, maybe, with Madonna, something like that.
I think, I would have just wanted it to, if had I stayed under him, then, I just hope he would have grown with the natural course of the show the way he actually ultimately did, I didn't have any unfulfilled puppet dreams, if that's what you're asking. I wasn't allowed to take it home with me, so...
Would you like to take that home with you?
Yes, I would.
It's a general rule, Josh. Never bring the puppet home. You end up like Anthony Hopkins in Magic, and that doesn't help anybody at all. I found this is kind of fun. Just again, a testament to how this show caught on early. I found this old press kit from most of these clippings were from the first season, and we had Time Magazine. There's this wonderful thing in the Wall Street Journal the first year, the New York Times. LA Times. Keith Olbermann here did it. And you should go back and Google a picture of Keith Olbermann back in 1990. Because
nice mustache.
He had a porn star mustache back then. I mean, look at that. Did you see that thing?
Oh, my God. Very nice.
He looks like he's ready to go right on the set and get buffed. And
Hi, I'm Keith Olbermann.
Exactly.
We were the Cinematic Titanic gang appeared on his show a few months back, and he read liberally from his review of us from 1990.
Yes, indeed. He wanted to tell everybody how prescient he was.
That's right.
That he said, "Ha is destined for the dustbin," because they were only running they had 16 hours of reruns of CPO Sharky at the time, so they were at an immediate disadvantage.
I don't see how.
Yeah. And the other thing I brought along that I thought was fun is a bunch of fan letters from that first season too, and
I sure hope this Servo goes away and is replaced soon.
No, Servo is my favorite. Here's a picture, and somebody did this very nice little sketch of Tom Servo there. Isn't that cute?
Aww.
And sent a picture of himself as well.
From prison.
That's right. And oddly enough, he says Servo is my favorite person. Tom Servo. I like everyone else, and I think you're all very funny, but my favorite person is Tom Servo. And his name is Kevin.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cute? These are just fine. And there's another one here. I've got to find that. That was addressed to right to. There's one to Crow. Who gives a damn about that? Oh, yeah. Our first contact with Michael Okuda. You guys might know of him. I have a feeling he's been here. He was he's still a scenic and graphic arts person for the whole Star Trek family, and he got his big start on Star Trek The Next Generation and invited us onto the set when we were out there. He's a really sweet fellow, and he's a really brilliant artist. He's one of the guys who came up with the brand new phaser design for the new for The Next Generation Star Trek. And the first contact we had with him, he wrote a letter to Tom Servo. And that was back in 1990.
If there's ever a bigger credibility booster.
Michael Okuda loves me.
I found that kind of cool. Oh, and here's my favorite. I know it's just a photocopy, but I love the picture of Tom in this. He looks like a lighthouse, I think.
It's like a baby bottle on a rock.
Yeah. I thought, oddly enough, it looked like a Nantucket lighthouse to me.
Very nice.
I thought that was kind of cute.
But Joel.
These things started pouring in, and according to this press kit we had at that time, at the end of the first season, we had already gotten 7,000 fan letters.
Wow.
I think that's pretty cool.
Now, did you guys actually...
And we encourage them by reading them on the air,
Well,
too.
yeah, you know, encouraged everybody's natural hamminess by putting the address up on the screen and then reading the letters on the air.
I think there was, 40-year-old guys going, "Look, here's my picture of Servo. Look."
Exactly.
So who would be the one that would generally read the fan letters when they came in? Who would screen those? Was it the group would just
To
empty
screen
the
them?
bag?
Boy, I don't remember. Who remembers how we screened them? I think we just sat around and read them, right?
Yeah,
when we came in.
I know we certainly couldn't afford a mail reader.
Well, we did have Alex Carr, who was the production coordinator at the time, and I think she filtered through all the weird mail because almost immediately, a little bit of success, you start getting this really creepy, weird mail. People send you really creepy and weird things, like the guy who sent wisdom teeth. He'd had his wisdom teeth pulled and put them in a box and sent them along. Toenail clippings was another one. Somebody sent. Yeah, we discouraged that, as Trey said. We discouraged that, and
Someone just sent Servo's finger, and if you don't fulfill my ransom demands, it didn't really. Don't worry.
You very much emulated the voice that Josh was doing when he came on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's Josh is a versatile voice. I think you've got a much deeper bass than I do, but you can go just as high, which is kind of nice. He does a kick-ass Kissinger. I don't know if you've ever heard him do Henry Kissinger, but he does a wonderful Henry Kissinger.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So that was sort of, I had to do with it what I could, and I think I was slightly in a higher register, but I sort of took that smarmy radio thing there and added Ted Knight in there a little bit. I think is what it was. Came out with a slightly more dramatic voice, but it's funny. I tend to lose it sometimes, especially in the film commentary, and I just go back to my own conversational tone. I think we both fell into this.
Like I said, I just saw Robot Monster not long ago, and I was like, nice piece of acting.
It's a testament. More important are the jokes we're telling.
Well, yeah, and sometimes you have to take on the voice of the character in the film. So to do an impression while you're already doing a voice, it gets dicey.
It's a little weird. Yeah, absolutely. And it also added to that sort of, in the first season it was all ad-libbed, which was kind of cool. And Trace and Josh and Joel had, at KTMA it was all ad-libbed. And then in the first season, they sort of kept that spirit, and it was always one of the greatest compliments that people could give us is to say that the show seemed to be ad-libbed. He said, how can you do that much ad-libbing? And at that point, we would say, no, we thank you very much, but we scripted all of that, and I'm glad it sounds ad-libbed. But, these guys started with having a great exchange with each other, and the voice sort of diminishes a little bit if you're just trying to have sort of a conversational yuck it up between you, and that makes a difference, too. So it's always a challenge to hold that voice character in there the whole time, but we try. And during the host segments, of course, drop right back into the mighty Servo voice. The mighty voice, as Josh called it.
Well, how soon into your performance do you think you finally felt comfortable with it? We're just trying to emulate, but felt you'd made the character your own.
Again, because I'm a big old ham and I like to sing, the minute Tom was able to start singing, I think I felt a lot more comfortable with the character. And again, walking into that was huge because I knew the show was, somewhat of a success. We really didn't know where it was going to go. I mean, we had to wait forever for the second season to begin, and then we had to do the same thing with the third season. And honest to God, we'd sit in the writing room and throw pencils at the acoustic tile on the ceiling and see how many we could stick in there. Apparently, it's an old writing room creativity exercise.
There was all sorts of games that we.
Oh, that's true.
Invent.
Laser tag back in the warehouses. It's true.
Crush your junk
was
the big one, where we literally would sit across each other. We had this giant rubber band ball.
Yeah.
And we'd sit across the writer's room, and you'd try to hit each other's crotch with 2 bounces.
And who was the champion?
It was high stakes, really.
Nelson was very competitive at this.
Yeah.
And
he's the kind of guy who would come in at like 5 a.m. to practice Crush Your
he'd
Junk.
practice Crush Your Junk every day, as a matter of fact. No.
And by the way, Crush Your Junk is the sanitized version of the. It was alliterative.
Crush your. Okay, I'll say it. Crush your is what it was. Yeah, and we had a foosball table there, I think. And was that there in the first season?
That was after I left. I think they took my
You
salary.
never
and
got a foosball
applied
table.
it to the game table.
That's
He
right.
was just crushing junk.
We took the money we would have given to Josh and put it into a foosball table.
At least you had a rubber ball band.
I did.
You did. It was a nice one too.
And I had my memories.
Again, I think Trey started that rubber band ball. It got quite big. It was about the size of a 16-inch softball, I think. At least. You probably still have that and add to it every day, don't you?
Yes, and the scent of many a crush.
It's now a roadside attraction in Minnesota. So you speaking of fan mail, got a particular piece of fan mail during your first season.
Yeah, I think you guys know this story. A lot of you know this story. I wrote about it in the Amazing Colossal Episode Guide, and it was not too far into the first season that I was on the show, season number 2, and Alex hands me this. She says, "I don't know if you want to see this," and I pull out this huge, like 6-foot-long, printed, from a dot matrix printer. Somebody put a lot of work into it, and it just said, "I hate Tom Servo's new voice." Really big. And so I put it on the wall in my office because it was it was like a reverse inspiration for me. If somebody was that, sad that they had to send hate mail to a puppet, then I had something going on here that he didn't, and I felt pretty good about myself. And as a matter of fact, while I was digging back through the archives, oddly enough,
To show it's not apocryphal.
hang on, quick quiz for you guys. Woodchuck, funny or not funny floating? All right. Funny or not funny floating? Gallagher. Not funny under any circumstances, as a matter of fact. It's amazing what you can find when you look for it. But
I have nothing to pander with.
here, hang on,
I
Josh.
have
Josh, can you help me with this?
coffee.
This hung in my office for the entire time I was on the show. Is that low enough? Can we hit Ken with it there? Want a big paper cut, Ken? I can give you one. Oh, God, I could give you a paper cut. The mother of all paper cuts.
I went through 2 ink cartridges on.
Damn you, Josh. Damn you.
Well, to make you feel better, just not so long ago, a couple of years ago, we were at a con and we were signing at a table, and someone was sending their episode guide down in front of all of us, and she goes through Joel and Trace and Frank, and kind of stops when she gets to me, and I go, "Would you like me to sign that?" And she goes, "Okay." And as I'm signing it, she turns to her friend and goes, "I hate the old Servo."
Wow.
And it took every ounce of my restraint to not just rip the page right out of her episode guide.
I'd say in the future, don't exercise that restraint.
Well,
and then hurl the book,
And she's here with us today. So what was your initial impression? Was it that feeling of being inspired by it, or it has to be a bit of a shock to know that someone did.
Well, I thought it was really ambitious, that someone would go to that much trouble to tell you how much they hate you. That's a special kind of energy that's out there in the world, and it needs to be dissipated in some way or another. So yeah, it was inspirational in that way.
Well, and to do it in banner form,
yeah,
sort of indicates that they were thinking this is going to be hung somewhere.
I think they probably sent the push pins along as well.
That's right. It's like maybe it was the prototype for the banner trailing the airplane they were planning on hiring.
They'll fly over. No, it's one of those things that happens like when I first started trying to sell things as a writer. And you get rejection letters. And so I used to put the rejection letters up just to remind me this is my past. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. This is my past. That part of my life might be done now. So it's always been inspirational for me to acknowledge, people's negative opinions of me or the failures I've had in order to sort of, dismiss them and put them in the past. I don't dwell on them, but once I put it on the wall, I sort of forget about them. I don't look, I always have my desk facing out when I work. I don't have my desk facing towards the wall, so I'm never looking at the wall, so I don't see them. So I sort of figuratively, and this sounds really corny, but they're behind me at the time I do that, and it works for me. I'm sure I'm fooling myself, but it works for me.
Do you have anything similar?
No, I like to bathe myself in love.
Bathe in the shame. Oh, shame. Perdurable
Wash over me.
shame.
Cleanse my positive feelings
Delicious
away.
shame. It's like rain bath, isn't it? Yes. Beautiful Neutrogena shame bath.
So, what are your lingering feelings about the time you spent?
Resentment, anger, frustration?
Had a lot of those, but I've shed most of them now after all this
I was
time.
talking about me, not you.
Oh,
but-
sorry. No, it's like it's funny because I think most people when they think of Servo they think of Kevin, and I think that's fine. I think it's all based on when you discovered the show, and when I was on it, it just wasn't even available to that many people. So my feelings are mostly I'm really proud to have sort of planted the Servo seed, but clear, yeah.
He didn't plant it in
That's
me.
Like I said, that's why they wouldn't let me take the puppet home. I have nothing but admiration for where Kevin took it and ran with it, and I think he absolutely made it his own in short order. But I'm also proud to be a co-Servo with you. I think I put something into him that stayed, and I think Kevin put plenty of stuff into him that stayed, and I'm happy.
And certainly through the DVD releases, those first season episodes are now readily available.
Yeah, for better or worse, you can see the first season episodes now again.
I love- yeah.
It's so developmental, and like I said, I watched one recently, and we were still learning. It was still part of the learning curve. I think KTMA was really integral in terms of establishing the tone of the show, and then I think the first season was really integral in establishing we have to make an actual professional TV show, and just learning all the things we had to do to deliver a show to a network. All of that was part of that curve, and even watching the riffing, it's like we hadn't quite figured out how many riffs you can actually get into a movie. Whereas we were, our rule, I think the first season was, we have to have 4 jokes a minute. Yeah. But as we know now, having riffed on, there's room for 8 to 10 in a minute, Just anytime there's a space, you can put a joke in, and people's brains will track it. But we were still navigating how you deal with dialogue and what you have to watch out for. And
We had analog brains at that moment, It was
Yeah.
before we all went digital, I believe. Before my high-def brain was installed.
so the riffing was still developing. I think we knew what movie riffing was, but we hadn't pushed it to its potential yet. So, so I don't think that the first season shows are the best MSTs. I don't have a delusional pride about it in that way. I think we did some great work, but I don't think if I were to say what's the best MST episode, top to bottom, it probably didn't come from my seasons.
Well, my favorite out of season 1 is Robot Monster. Just partially because the movie's so damn silly, but the jokes were terrific in that, and I just still have to this day a vision of that robot. He's supposed to be menacing, and he's walking, sloping along like this. And I think it's Tom Servo starts a little song for him, peeking through the knothole in Grandma's wooden leg. Who put the sea so far from the ocean? Go get the axe, there's a fly on Granny's chin. And it kills me every time because it's perfect. Because he's this menacing, you've seen the movie, it's like a gorilla with a deep sea diving helmet on. And he's supposed to be this menacing alien, and he just sort of lopes along when he walks.
And we were resistant. I remember being resistant to doing that movie. It was we kind of got pushed into doing it because we didn't have another one to clear. But because it was sort of one of those famous,
Right.
iconic bad movies, we wanted to sort of make people discover new movies, and then. But I think it turned out that iconic bad movie really served us.
It was, for me, proof that the movie was our Margaret Dumont, and we should really embrace that.
Right, and that one had so much air with the big with the monkey alien walking around, So
And I think that might have been one of the jokiest ones.
yeah, and I think that was formative because we learned how we have all this air, let's fill it with joke.
Absolutely.
So your lingering memories
Lingering memories of
Tom Servo, the time you spent with the character.
Geez, I mean, I think I had the most ideal job of anybody at Mystery Science Theater, and I feel very humbled and thrilled. And I still look back at it, and I have to sort of pinch myself because I got to be involved in every single episode of the show, from the time it was piloted to the time we shut down the doors and shut the doors and took down the sets. So that's, I don't know how many people are able to have had that experience, but it's very cool in retrospect, and I got to see the whole evolution of the thing and do various roles beyond Tom Servo, because I started out, I helped Joel build the doorway sequence when we first did it, and I ran the camera, and then for a while I was supervising the editing for quite a while, and then and writing, and then I got to be on the damn show and have one of the characters and go through that whole experience. And the nice thing is I never had to worry about how I looked, because if anybody saw me, it was because I was not puppeting well, and they saw a chunk of my wrist. And so that was great. I didn't have to do makeup. It's a lot easier to do your lines when you can read them, because they're stuck to the wall in the puppet trench. Joel and Mike and Trace and Josh and Frank and Mary Jo and Bill all had to be, on camera with their full faces out there for everybody to see it at different times. Yeah, that's really, that's something I don't like doing. I'm very self-conscious of myself when I'm on camera, just my face. I look at myself and think, I think immediately, a shaved bear. It's my opinion. So somebody shaved a bear, put him in a suit. I'm sorry? Partially shaved bear. That's right. Thank you.
I think a kitten with a whip.
I think
Kitten with.
I think there's a whole community out there that thinks of you as a bear too. So,
Yes. I was told at Comic-Con we got interviewed by somebody from Outweek, as a matter of fact, I think it was, and or Lavender, I think it was. One of those, gay journalist magazines. And he said, "I just want you to know you're somewhat of an icon in the bear community." I was flattered, as a matter of fact. I said, "Thank you. I don't roll my dice that way, but it's nice to know that if I ever did, someone would catch them."
and he walked off singing "From the Land of Sky Blue Water."
That's right. Yes, that's right. Actual gay Kodiaks are looking for me out there.
And on that note, we end this panel.
Wow. Before we go, Ken, I also found digging back. This is one of our early fan club packages that we send out, and it has brand new fan club material and the first ever catalog for stuff that Trace put together, and it has the silhouette that you cut out and paste on your TV. And it has the wacky rolling action figure, and I thought, just as a thank you for doing this fine panel, a little chunk of memorabilia for you to take home and put in your extensive collection.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Josh, what do you have for me?
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thanks very much.
J. Elvis Weinstein and Kevin Murphy.